hyperbole. Matt's the chair of the powerful subcommittee that controls the funding for public safety. He knows what it means, investing in effective and accountable community policing that builds public trust and strengthens public safety. I'm old enough to remember when cops used to walk the beat in Wilmington and in Scranton because they knew everybody. They knew the kid. They knew if something was trouble. They knew whose house to go and knock on the door.
There are new eligibility requirements that lawmakers have agreed on. The new requirements have to be met by Americans in order to be further eligible for stimulus checks. Here is some big news. Residents of 13 states who receive debt forgiveness from the federal government for their student loans may need to pay some state taxes on their forgiven amount. And according to analysis by the Tax Foundation, loan forgiveness is generally considered to be equivalent to income and is therefore taxable. Analysts have said that the American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion package that Joe Biden signed into law, exempts the forgiveness of student loan debt from 2021 to 2025 from federal income taxes. States that follow the federal government's lead will exclude debt forgiveness, but not all states do. Biden has already announced the federal government will forgive up to $10,000 in student debt for individuals making less than $125,000 per year, and of $20,000 for those who received a Pell Grant, meant for students with the largest financial need. The states where residents may need to pay taxes on the forgiven debt are Arkansas, Minnesota, Hawaii, Kentucky, Massachusetts, New York, and just to name a few, South Carolina. Experts have also calculated the highest rates that anyone could potentially pay in each of these states for having $10,000 forgiven. All of these states could require residents to pay several $100s in state taxes on the up to $10,000 in forgiven debt. Hawaii residents, for example, could potentially have the highest tax liability at $1,100. The taxes would be higher for residents who receive $20,000 in forgiveness. States will likely have to issue guidance in the coming weeks and months on how to treat the forgiven debt. But states will need to act with some urgency if they plan to make changes to their tax laws ahead of debt forgiveness into effect. Now, Connecticut is offering financial relief to residents who were essential workers during the crisis. Lawmakers have created two programs already, like the Premium Pay Program, to distribute over $60 million in funds. Applications for both are now open, and the Premium Pay Program, which launched in August with $30 million in funds, provides certain bonuses to frontline workers from the private sector only. The Essential Workers Crisis Assistance Program launched in January with $34 million to help frontline workers by reimbursing a portion of lost wages or incurred medical costs because of the crisis. Currently, essential workers can apply to recover a portion of the wages they lost, up to $1,500. If you're eligible for this relief, make sure to apply and do it quickly. The Agriculture Secretary has also announced that $700 million in competitive grant funding will be available through the new Farm and Food Workers Relief Program to help farm workers and meatpacking workers with crisis-related costs. The program will provide relief to farm workers, meatpacking workers, and the grocery store workers as well. The president of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union told Yahoo News, while the rest of America could work from home, these brave men and women continue to show up for work every single day to ensure that we all have food on the table.
Good morning, sisters and brothers, members of the media, and distinguished guests. I'm Ron Herrera. I'm the president of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, and it's my honor to welcome you all to the House of Labor. On behalf of 800,000 hardworking women and men who make up the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, I'm pleased to stand in solidarity with Senator Padilla and Congressmember Chu to endorse the Fatality Prevention Act. This week marks the lead up to one of the most important holidays of our movement, Labor Day. A day that celebrates and, more importantly, recognizes the contributions workers have made in America's advancement and prosperity. Though this worker holiday is timeless, at these last 2 years, once again, has reminded us of how essential our labor force is in our daily lives. Since the pandemic, the term essential worker has been used to refer to certain laborers. However, it's time that we acknowledge all workers and that all workers are essential, from our laborers in the warehouse to our señoras in our waste sort facilities to our farm workers in the fields of California. But we need to make sure we are protecting every essential worker, which is why the Fatality Prevention Act comes into play. Just last month, it was reported that an Amazon worker died due to heat-related illness while on the job at an Amazon warehouse. The reality is that there are thousands of workers who suffer on the job due to extreme heat conditions with no level of protection. Our farm workers who harvest the crops that we eat work daily in the fields where temperatures rise upwards of 100 degrees. Our sanitation workers at our sorting facilities sort through our garbage, sometimes without basic proper protections like gloves. They also have to endure working in extreme heat. Increased climate change and heat continues to affect all workers, from our construction workers who build affordable housing to our longshoremen, our airport workers, our car wash workers, garment workers, and landscapers who beautify our cities. This bill has been long overdue, but with the support of Senator Padilla and Congressmember Chu, we can ensure that the Fatality Prevention Act becomes the law of the land. In the meantime, we in Los Angeles pledge our full support because an injury to one is an injury to...
Let me thank everyone for coming as we discuss the climate provisions today and the environmental provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act, which, as you know, passed the House for final passage a couple of weeks ago and was signed by the President. I was fortunate enough to actually be there when he signed it. But I wanted to mention who's here first. First of all, we do have... I thought we did. Oh, you don't want to be behind us? All right. So we have from the city of Long Branch my brother John, who's the mayor, and we have Billy Dangler, who's the councilman, and Anita Vogt, who's the councilwoman. They don't have title president, right? Somebody else is the council president. All right. Oh, Roses. Okay. And then also wanted to mention each of these environmental groups, and understand that without the support of the environmental groups and the environmental community, this bill would never have become law. So I want you to understand that. And so I have who will speak. So maybe I don't need to mention him now, but I will. Doug, who's director of the Environment New Jersey, Angeli Ramos, director of the Sierra Club, Richard Lawton, executive director of New Jersey Sustainable Business Council, Meredith Comey, who's the Shoreline Restoration Director,